Hello and welcome to the Light and Energy Show with me, Claire Wiles. Today I'm joined by Tony Kilvert. Welcome, Tony, to the show.
Thank you, Claire.
Now, Tony, you're an independent researcher of hidden esoteric information. That's quite a title.
It ended up that way.
Can you tell us a little bit about how this began to be a researcher of these esoteric issues?
Okay, cutting a long story short, I had an internal thought that kept recurring and recurring and recurring, and it wouldn't leave me alone. I was pushed to look at, and I do mean pushed, to look into the subject of free energy. I was, I had a yearning to understand what on earth was going on. So I started to research on the internet about the fact of, is there such a thing as free energy? If there was such a thing, what's it all about? Where's it going? Why haven't we got it, and all the rest of it? But cutting a long story short, I started looking into free energy devices, and I couldn't believe what started coming out of the computer at me. I first looked at somebody called Jonathan Searle, who invented the Searle effect generator, and I started studying all of his work, and I started studying the mathematics, the physics, all of the information behind it, because I was just amazed that such a story was even there, because it's so in depth. I mean, this guy developed the Searle effect generator, which is basically a core steel ring with smaller rings passing around it, and it all works on electromagnetic impulses.
Right.
And as this machine speeds up, it starts generating electricity.
Right.
And it gets to a certain point where you disconnect the energy source that started the rotation of the machine, and it speeds up. It carries on going off its own energy. And this was just, wow, I can't believe it.
And this just continues indefinitely, does it?
It does, to a point. He has to control the revolutions.
Right.
Because certain things happen, which we can get to a little later on.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fascinating.
That's amazing. So with this free energy, this is something that you feel that anybody could be using, or we should be using within our homes? Are you thinking of it on a personal issue, or on a industrial level, or?
On all levels.
Okay.
Initially, that's one of the things that led me to search even deeper.
Right.
Because obviously, if we've got such a thing like the Searle effect generator that Professor Searle's showed us that we've got, then who's, I needed to know, well, who's backed this up? Who says who says it's working? It's amazing claims that he's making. So, where are the independent researchers that have backed up what he's done? Again, a long story short, turns out Russian scientists have now reproduced this Searle effect generator and have verified its functions and all of what occurs with this particular device. But if people want to go and look at the story, they'll learn things about how the BBC hired helicopters and BBC cameras over 30 years ago, if not 40 now. And that they went to record the effects of this machine and how it worked, and the surprises that they got when they got there.
We're looking at something that was developed in the 60s?
Yeah, way while ago. But that was just one revelation. But that began a chain reaction that led to deeper and deeper research into to the particular form of free energy. I then did some more research. I found out about Marco Rodin. Marco Rodin was he developed a toroid, which is anybody would know as a donut, and he had harmonic windings that go into the donut. That when he passes energy through in both particular ways, it pulls more energy out than it goes in, because of the harmonic effect of how it's wound.
Yes.
I then started looking at some of the other researchers on electrolysis, which is separating hydrogen and oxygen from water using electrical current, which then they combust hydrogen and oxygen, two most explosive gases on the planet, and they're running combustion engines on it and all these sort of things. And it's not just one form of free energy. It led to a whole revelation of all these different devices and how they all worked. And I've since then found PDF documents on, I can't remember what the site is, freeenergy.co.uk or something, freeenergydevices.co.uk. And they've got hundreds and hundreds of pages of different devices, different engines, different designs. There's so many, it'll make your head spin.
So why do you think we're not actually being able to use this free energy?
Well, that's part of the whole next step, isn't it? What you've got to do is first get your head around the fact that this is real, and then you start reflecting and saying, well, hang on, who's actually paying the sun to shine? Nature works on energy that's coming from somewhere, and then it takes you deeper and deeper and deeper into the whole journey. Scientists now have completely agreed that within 1 cubic square centimetre of air anywhere, there's more energy than you could possibly use. You know, energy, free energy is everywhere, but it's getting past the dogma and the conditioning is the correct word that you've been told all your life. You know, 4 and 4 equals 8, you know what I'm saying? This type of thing. It's conditioning. But you've got to be able to rip away the conditioning before you can conceive of the possibilities that what you have been told isn't actually true. And that's a massive topic in itself because it goes everywhere. What you're told about anything is the conditioning program that you've been under all of your life.
So people have to understand the concept of free energy before they can actually be using the free energy. It's got to be in that order. It's
got to be. I mean, it was driving me up the wall before I looked.
Yes.
And now I know why.
Yeah.
Before I didn't.
Yeah.
The point is, I thought it was ridiculous, so I didn't bother to look. And that's the point. When you think that something's ridiculous, you don't go there. It's, oh, it's rubbish, it's conspiracy theory, it's this, it's that. It's anything, but you won't look because you're conditioned unbeknown to you not to look.
Yeah.
Because when you do look, that's when Pandora's box comes open.
There's a lovely saying, isn't there? I can't remember who said it, but they said that what scientists should be doing, instead of when they discover something saying, oh, eureka, I found it, they should be saying, that's interesting.
And looking into it more. But this is it. This is where the rabbit hole gets deeper and deeper and deeper. Because once you've taken that lid off, you start asking these questions, which are perfectly sensible questions.
Yeah.
But only after you've found out that something's wrong do you start analysing it deeper and deeper and deeper. And that's precisely how it works.
So why do you think, you know, this thing with free energy, which is so amazing that we could all be using something that isn't costing us anything, why aren't we hearing about this? Why isn't it on the news? Why isn't it easily accessible? You know, you can have this for free.
Well, the fact is, if we all knew that, we would be. And that's why the conditioning program is in place to prevent that from happening. Because they don't want the information out of the box. Now,
who's they?
We can get to that bit a little deeper. But there is a conditioning program on Earth. When you're born, you are taught by your parents what your parents have been taught. So there's an overlaying cover that's placed over everybody's life experiences from birth all the way through. When you go to school, this is history. This is, you know, science. This is mechanics. You know,
We're constantly programmed, aren't we?
Absolutely. I mean, I was reading. I mean, I came across an Action Man book for about 5-year-olds. I turned it over just for the heck of it, looked at it, Ministry of Defence, and it's like, this is Action Man, this is kids. You know, the whole school system, the medical system.
It's frightening.
It's systematic.
In my son's GCSE school textbook, there was a whole page on statins. And this was one book to cover 2-year GCSE science and a whole page on statins. And I found that scary.
Well, this is it. That's what they want you to think, but they don't want you stepping anywhere outside the box at all. And like I say, the more you look, the more this becomes apparent everywhere. I mean, I've taken it to the stage now where you can see it all around you. I can pick up anything, turn it around, there's a barcode, 666. You can look at the petrol signs from Texaco to BP, and you can see esoteric geometry and secret hidden information, Knights Templar information, all sorts of things start coming out. But it's only when you open your eyes and begin to see what's really going on, that's the revelation.
We're constantly programmed, aren't we? Every time we walk down the street, we pick up a newspaper, open a book. It's just a constant way of stopping us thinking for ourselves.
Absolutely. They want you to follow the party line and don't go anywhere
Anywhere else.
You know, and that includes, I mean, I've looked at scientists that the scientists been involved in space programs and technological programs for the let's call it industrial military complex, and they say themselves they were brought in to just try and figure out how to fire an electron through a particular electromagnetic field that's never going to go through. But right. They're repeatedly trying and trying and trying to make something happen that they know can never happen. But they keep funding it. But if you start taking that technology and changing it so you can actually successfully make it work, they won't fund you anymore.
No.
They'll pull you off the program. They'll do anything to stop you researching that particular department. It's the same with medicine. Again, technological research, anything to do with free energy, anti-gravity, all these sort of things that turn out to actually be real.
Well, we've only
want you to go.
Got to look at Codex, haven't we?
Absolutely.
And what changes that's going to make to how our own personal choice.
Absolutely.
In what we can use in herbal medicine and in nutrients.
Absolutely.
And of course, if we actually can't use these things for ourselves, then they know we would have to go down the pharmaceutical route.
Absolutely.
So lots of money to be made, and our health gets worse.
That's right. I mean, it turns out I've gone down and looked at the medical route. There's all sorts of cures. Everything that we've got as an ailment is curable. But one of the most incredible things about our immune system is it can cure all of these things. If only you understand that it's what you put into your body that actually gives your body all of the kits, all of the tools in the toolbox to repair all of the problems that your body can encounter. It turns out, if you look at some of the work done by Dr. Carey in America, I think it's entitled "Vaccines are the True Mass Weapon of Mass Destruction," and I think it's about a 17-part documentary. She explains it all in such incredible, clear information. And this is, of course, why Codex Alimentarius is going after all the vitamins, the minerals, the nutrients, the supplements, which are pure. Anything pure they want to get rid of, because your immune system can use that to defend itself against illnesses.
Fluoride in water.
Absolutely. I mean, fluoride, that's a story in itself. Fluoride's all about dumbing the people down. Calcification of the pineal gland, same as the mobile phones, black ops technology, in order to close off your connection to anything spiritual or our true source. It's a massive subject. Any single one of those we can spend a long time on. But that's what it's about. It's about cutting your connection to who you really are.
Yes.
And that's when we start drilling down through all the rubbish, put it politely, and getting to the true source of, well, why is everything the way it is? Why has the Pope got a stick with my pineal gland, or an effigy of my pineal gland on the end of his stick? It's like, whoa, what's going on here?
I think as we move towards 2012 and things look as if they have been getting progressively worse, and yet there's much more of a global consciousness becoming more enlightened, do you agree with this 100 monkey syndrome, that as more of us become more enlightened, then the balance will turn?
Yes, absolutely. It's called collective consciousness. We are the consciousness. I'm going to drill right down. We are the consciousness of Earth experiencing this experience as a human race on this planet that's about to flourish into the thing that we've spent thousands and thousands of years turning from just 100 monkeys into the fully conscious human beings that were initially designed in 5D to be. And that's part of the massive struggle.
And we're being fought every step of the way, aren't we?
Absolutely.
A challenge every step of the way.
Fluoride, medicines, money, control, restrictions, freedom of speech, government, politics, military, industrial military complex, all of it. It's all inherently linked, and you can't escape from any one part of it without addressing the whole system. It's like a fractal. And we've got to start dismantling that fractal.
And often things have to get to the absolute worst they're ever going to be in order to then change and have that shift of balance, don't they? And certainly, I don't know how you feel about it, but a lot of us feel that this change is coming.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's tough, but it's coming.
It's just about to kick us right up the backside, to be totally frank with you.
A little chat now about anti-gravity, which is a big issue in itself, isn't it, that you've been researching?
Yeah, absolutely. It strangely came across initially as well, because, as I mentioned earlier, Professor Jonathan Searle's Searle effect generator. Now, one of the interesting things that happens with this generator, is that it gets up to a certain revolutions per minute, and it produces anti-gravity. In other words, while the actual rollers are going round on a horizontal plane, there is an actual inverse field of electromagnetic energy that's created. And the faster that the rollers spin, the more powerful the magnetic field speeds up. So what actually happened with Professor Jonathan Searle's devices is he lost the first two because they went through the roof. They sped up at such a rate, went so quick, they punched a hole through the ceiling and the first floor of his mother's house initially.
Right. So then she said, "You're going to have to get yourself a workplace, son."
Well, actually, he did. He went off and got another place, and I can't remember the exact story, but he tried to fix it down or something, and it broke the fixings, and it flew off again, and he lost the second one. But anyway, so yeah, and if you think that's way off and I'm a lunatic, then that's fine, because the BBC actually hired 2 helicopters when they went to film Professor Jonathan Searle's flying machine way back when. They hired the 2 helicopters with the film crews to watch the demonstration that he said, "I've got this machine." Yeah, all the public were there, all the village was there. And they took them out and they put these helicopters up there, and he had a flight route planned, they had radios, they had communications, it's going to go from here to here, blah, 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 and it was all properly planned and put together. So anyway, cutting a long story short, he said, "Well, you know, it's no good having helicopters, this thing's far too fast for your helicopters," and they just dismissed him. So anyway, the helicopters just got left standing, because he took this thing up, he shot it halfway across the country to a particular coordinate, and it was photographed and recorded at the coordinate, and then he brought it back, to my understanding. So, I mean, it's fascinating how one thing leads to another, to another, to another, and how all of this information suddenly starts unfolding. But that's just the one story. In the same way that energy is produced from, let's say, the ether, the vacuum, vril power, if you want to go the German words, the same thing, it turns out that energy in the form of electricity and energy in the form of electromagnetic energy are linked. There is no way of separating the two, to our current understanding anyway. If you pass wire down pass electricity through a standard cable in the room, there's an electromagnetic field that runs along the wire on a parallel to the actual direction of the energy flowing through the wire. But anyway, I mean, that's some of the basics of what I initially understood and learned from just that one case. So we have in fact got anti-gravity. We have in fact got free energy available. But if it's getting the blinders taken off from your eyes and trying to get your head around the fact that you've been lied to all your life. I'm sorry, but that's the fundamental part.
So when they tried to actually film this information, and with these helicopters, what happened to that? What happened after that?
It was all hushed up. The BBC buried it. He was, the police came in, and certain officials, national security or whatever, took away all his equipment and basically locked him up for 30 years. For daring to bring this out.
Do you think this connects in some way to the UFO?
Absolutely, yeah. Because the same power that's powering those could power all of our power needs, our travel needs, our freedom to travel off this planet and back again. And the biggest one is that when we actually get off this planet, we'll realise that fact, that we've been kept down here, as Alex Jones would say, on a literal prison planet. And that's the crux of it, and that's why they won't admit to having UFOs. It's a completely shut book, and it's ridiculed if anybody tries to bring it up. I mean, the ridicule's not working anymore, let's face it. There are so many people now going public, you know, just countless people. Peter Lavender for one, Timothy Good, you know, there's loads of people. And they're actually coming to the realisation, and it is a realisation. It's a realisation that we are run down here like a farm, and we are not run from the governments as we think we are run from the governments. There's an area of control above that, and an area above that, an area above that, an area above that, and it goes on and on and on. I can't remember how many levels of top secret above top secret. I think it's 33 or something.
Right.
Cosmic, and you've got majestic, and there's all these different classifications. But yet it turns out that welcome to the farm, because that's where we're trapped on the farm.
So when things are leaked, and people, oh, you know, that's really interesting, that's leaked, that's just the tiniest little part of this huge picture. When you say, okay, we're on this farm, are we waiting to be farmed, do you think?
Laura McKeezel-Knight, Jackal-Knight, I can't remember exactly her name, but possibly. I mean, it's a bit of a deep step to go that far, isn't it? So, I think we ought to come back to some of the facts, but where did all the Aztecs go? Where did all the Incas go? Where did all the Mayans go? Where did all the Egyptians go? Where did the dinosaurs go?
And a lot of people talk about this global population reduction.
Oh yeah, Agenda 21.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, Agenda 21, I mean, you have to remove the conditioning, because it's a bit like saying our government would never do anything to harm us, okay? Well, let's take a look at chemtrails, let's take a look at medications, let's take a look at fluoride, let's take a look at GMO, let's take a look at growth bovine hormones, let's take a look at pasteurized milk, let's take a look at, the list is endless of what they're putting into the food supply, what they're putting into the water supply, and the fact that you've got to get over that. Yes, your government wants to control you. Yes, there is free energy. Yes, there is anti-gravity. It's down to the people now. The people have got to go, okay, right, fine, now we want the truth. Forget the party line and all this stuff that you drilled into us. We need the truth. Yeah,
and I think people are asking more of the questions now, aren't they?
Absolutely.
We're not so happy to just sit there and take what we're told as read. We want more answers. We want to know how things have been discovered. There's, with this global awakening we were talking about earlier, this just cannot go on, can it?
No, if it goes on, it's going to get worse and worse and worse and worse, because the plan is for the total enslavement of the entire human race. Just think about something sensibly for a moment. If we, in fact, if anything that I've said about anti-gravity is true, and we do actually have it, and there's no problem in proving that. Mirahan Kesh, for example, Marco Rodin, all these people are producing this energy. Now, inherent with all of these devices is free energy, and it is anti-gravity. Mirahan Kesh, do you realise that the Iranian government are starting to produce UFOs? And if you go to Mirahan Kesh's foundation, I believe it is, he will talk about how they use matter and antimatter, fundamental particles of matter, and manipulate them into a particular form in order to create this energy form, and in order to create all of these effects. I mean, we're talking warp drive, we're talking, what do you call them, tractor beams, we're talking, off-world energy, all of the stuff in Star Trek. It's all been there for, I don't know how long.
So, Tony, what are the potential implications of this disclosure?
Well, free energy, free travel, the realisation that we've actually not only just got this ability, but it's been suppressed, asks many, many questions, such as if we've actually got these ships. I mean, I'll give you another example. Gary McKinnon he wandered into the American Defense System's computer or something, and he pulled out lists of off-terrestrial officers that were on board these ships in the Navy that didn't exist.
Right.
And this is one of the reasons why they're trying to extradite him to the US to spend 60 years in prison, because he's come out with this information that's their own information that they didn't even firewall off. Basically the implication is we've got these craft and we've been off-world. Forget NASA. NASA's a movie. It's just to keep you occupied. It's there to pretend that they're doing something about it, not the actual fact that what they've really got is real.
Right.
And that's the point. That's why this is why the embargo's in place. Winston Churchill was one of the first people to put an embargo on the whole UFO subject because of the Foo Fighter issue over in World War II. And that's, that is not even the beginning. That's just going to a point where we can say, look, Winston Churchill did this. But the fundamental facts are that if we've got this off-world technology, what else did we find when we got off-world? And that's where it gets really interesting, because the establishment will be themselves at the moment.
Yeah.
But the point is, when we get off-world, we find other technologies left by other races and other abilities to do certain things that have been left on other planets.
And do you think this was technology that we once had?
Oh yeah.
You know, when we think about the pyramids, this is technology that would have been used but has some way gone out of our culture for whatever reason.
I mean, if I would say to you, the Vatican has been holding documents going back to the pre-religion and the Egyptian times even.
Yes.
Yeah? Can you honestly, truthfully believe that the Vatican would hold documents back?
Oh, yes.
It's obvious. Okay? Why would they do that? Well, they want you to believe their version or their flavour of Christianity.
Yes.
Or Catholic, or, you know. In other words, they are not actually being truthful with you, are they?
No.
So, let's have a look at the Vatican, and let's see where all these roots go from the Vatican that are trying to blind us with their version of the Bible. Yeah? Why are they doing that? What's their agenda? What are they going to get out of it? How does it work? And we have to start going down this series of pathways in order to get to the real information that's at the top of the pyramid, let's say.
When you say at the top of the pyramid, what do you mean by that?
You can take it literally, you can take it esoterically, you can take it geometrically. That's it, just about got that one. It means many, many things. If you want to look at it as in a reality, the top of the pyramid, let's look at some of the control grids, like religion. Who's at the top of the pyramid on religion? Well, according to the face of it, what's on the face is the Pope. Yeah. Then you've got the Pope's servants under that, and you've got, you know, all the religious clergy, then you've got the vicars, and then it goes out and out and out and out through the system. Again, it's a pyramid system.
Yes.
So the only thing at the top of the pyramid system gets all of the information, gets all of the wealth that finds its way up. Everything that, you know, things that should be hidden according to the top of the pyramid all get hidden. Because, you know, they're sucking up all of the energies, and I mean that in more ways than one, and hiding the truth for their own for them to be able to perpetuate the lie. So that's what I mean in a literal sense.
Right.
Now, if you want to talk about sacred geometry, then it goes into a whole different bag of tricks, because it actually fits within sacred geometry as well. You might recall the Richard Hall interview that I did about the pyramids and how it all functions. Well, it turns out that some of this secret information that's been hidden is, among other things, the Holy Grail. Now, it turns out that the pyramid actually is activated by a Holy Grail. And anybody can go and see that interview to find out what that's all about. But some of the secret or occulted or hidden, which is what it really means, information, is how to manipulate energies of everything around us. In other words, free energy. If you set up the pyramids correctly, just briefly, you align the pyramids to north, and you basically put the Holy Grail on top of the pyramid, and you activate the pyramid with intent.
Right.
You can actually start drawing in energies from the heaven above, or the heavens, to put it on a basic format. And it turns out that that's exactly what all the pyramids were doing. All the pyramids, there's pyramids in Sedona, there's pyramids on the moon, there's pyramids on Earth, there's pyramids in China, there's pyramids everywhere. This is the ancient secret, that we can actually draw energy in through the pyramids, but in order to make it function correctly, you need the Holy Grail to activate it, which is basically a tetrahedron. But if you turn that thing upside down, it represents a chalice, which is how it's been morphed into this, oh, it was a chalice, blah, blah, blah. In other words, it's the Vatican hiding the truth, because if the truth got out, it would change everything.
And all this that we've been led to believe about them being burial chambers.
Oh, complete and utter rubbish. Yeah, okay, we were talking about the eye of the pyramids, which translating into the symbolic eye, or the control system's eye, or the actual geometric Holy Grail, etc. I've mentioned it briefly, but the fundamental things that happen with the pyramid, when you activate the pyramid and it draws these energies from above, below, all of these pyramids, if you do a little bit of research to the ones that are on the Earth, they're all on energy grids of the Earth. Same as the churches were built on energy grids. It all links into the fundamental, what's the word I'm looking for, architecture of a church. If you look at the windows, they're all curved, they're all arches. If you look at the spires, they're short, narrow pyramids.
And we
there's
know
reasons for all of this.
And we know that these were built on sites that people already used. They were energy sites because that was a way of controlling people and changing them to Christianity.
To be fearful of God, because God will send you to hell unless you do exactly what your vicar tells you, etc. So people were in fear. Now the angle of the pyramids, all to do with the fear from love, creation, heart, healing, spirituality, depending on the angles of the pyramids, sacred geometry. So the long, narrow spire of a church was bringing down these energies in a similar way, but it was being magnified by the people that were in the church. They were casting all the fearful energies into the Earth's grid. And this is why the whole geometric structure of the pyramids and the spires on these churches were built. It's all interlinked. So, I mean, with the pyramids that we actually build, and, we have done loads of tests and all sorts of things, seeds, water, all sorts of things. But with these things that we've actually built and tested, they are at the correct angles for what we're trying to do. Healing or spirituality
that very
or
positive
connection.
Energy.
Exactly. Different angle means a different frequency of vibration. That's the same thing again. So, basically, what was actually happening once upon a time pre the experiment of the human race, which is what this is. We're like lab rats. Basically, it's the Genesis program. And we are the lab rats that are trying to find our way through all of this conscious. We're trying to become conscious and become conscious of what's actually real around us, and the fact that we're in a box that we can't get out of. So we need to be conscious of that fact. And then when enough people get to higher consciousness, we can then turn around and go, right, that's it, game over. We know that you've been lying to us. We know that what you're doing to us. We know about this. Enough's enough. We know politicians lie to us. You know, it's all a game. We don't vote democratically. They rig it. And they put in the party that they want to put the party in, but it doesn't matter which party you're in, you're still going to get the puppets above running the party.
So you've got, say, the Vatican at the top of one of the pyramids. Who's above that and above that? Who is they? Who are these people that are, or if they are people, who is it that is actually putting the control mechanisms in place?
Okay. I go into much greater detail in the book that I'm writing at the moment, but what we've actually got, I have found personally, for my own personal research, I found out that what's actually above the Vatican is what you would term as Zionists. Now, I won't use the Jew word because it's not Jews. They're actual Zionist workers that work for the castes above those. Now, it turns out that the castes above those are what we would term as Khazai or Khazarian. Now, with a little bit of research, people can go back and look at Mesopotamia, Samaria, Iraq, Iran, all of the areas where we've got conflicts in at the moment. If you go and do a little bit of research about the geological locations of where these wars are, you'll find from the whole swathe of what was Mesopotamia, this is where the Khazais initially came from, to my understanding. So the Khazai race, my research has shown me that they were absolutely ruthless and evil about how they would attack anybody to get what they wanted. They'd rape, pillage, murder. I mean, they'd kill people's entire family just, to get whatever they wanted. They were ruthless people. So, cutting a long story short, what they decided to do was, apart from the fact they'd got this technology and they'd left, and all of the technologically, all of the Aztecs, the Incas, the Mayans, all of the rest of it are like, they are generations of human beings. They've allowed to get to a certain point, and then it's a cult.
Okay.
They've allowed to get to a certain point, and it's a cult at a certain point. And again, it's the same thing with a not 2012, but it's the same thing today with what they're planning with Agenda 21, etc.
Right.
Massive cults in Georgia Guidestones. It's there for anybody who's looking.
And Tony, you're putting all this into a book, aren't you?
Indeed, yeah. Title of the book is going to be Cosmic Blueprints of Cosmic Consciousness.
And you'll let us know as soon as it's published, won't you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Tony, it's been absolutely fascinating having you on the show. I really hope you'll come back and join us again, because I know you've got so much more that you'd like to share, so we'd love to have you back on the show. We will put links on our show notes of all the sites that you've mentioned and the information that you've mentioned, so that you can see for yourself and go and do your own research and make your own mind up. That will be on www.thelightsandenergychannel.tv, and of course join us on Facebook. So once again, Tony, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And Enlightened Energy from me, Claire Wiles. Goodbye.